If a power tool has a Portable Appliance Testing (PAT) label on it, what information should be included on the label? The tool's earth loop impedance. When the tool was made. Who tested the tool before it left the factory? When the tool was last tested. What two things are important for the use of manual handling lifting aids? The lifting aid must be designed for the task. The lifting aid can only be used outside. The user must hold a CSCS card. Lifting aids must not be more than 6 months old. Users must be trained in the correct use of the lifting aid. When can a mobile plant operator let people ride in or on the machine? Only if it is designed to carry passengers and has a designated seat. Anytime, as long as the cab door is shut. Only if they have a long way to walk. Anytime, as long as the site speed limit is not exceeded. Your new job involves some manual handling, but an old injury means that you have a weak back. What should you do? Tell your supervisor that lifting might be a problem. Tell your supervisor you can lift anything on site. Try some lifting, then tell your supervisor about your back. Tell your supervisor about your back if it gets injured again.
What is the main risk to this worker wearing only these items of personal protective equipment, PPE? Breathing in harmful dust. Dermatitis to skin. Damage to hearing. Eye injuries.
Why is it important to have emergency procedures on site? They help stop workplace bullying. They will stop all deaths on site. They help to control dangerous situations. They assist in creating a happy workplace.
What are the minimum facilities that must be provided on site for washing your hands? A cold water standpipe and paper towels. A water container, bowl and paper towels. There is no need to provide washing facilities. Hot and cold water, soap and a way to dry your hands.
Match the fire extinguisher with the described contents. Water for use on wood, paper, textile and solid material fires. Powder for use on liquid and electrical fires. Foam for use on liquid fires. Carbon dioxide, CO2, for use on liquid and electrical fires.
What do the initials HAVS stand for? Hand and ventilation system. heavy arm vibration system, hand-arm vibration syndrome, heat and ventilation syndrome. Select the two images in which the worker is correctly protecting themselves from possible cuts or abrasions. Washing no gloves. Painting with gloves. Carrying with no gloves. Scraping with gloves. Scrubbing no gloves. Which one of the following statements about respiratory protective equipment, RPE, is true? Workers should provide their own. Employers must supply it at cost when it is needed. Employers must supply it free of charge when it is needed. Workers should share the cost with the employer.
When choosing vehicle routes around a site, what is the main factor that should be considered? Is the driver experienced enough to drive the route? The medical history of the driver. The width of the route. Could the ground conditions cause a vehicle to overturn? What should you do if you are concerned about a colleague's mental health? Speak to them about it. Speak to a doctor about it. Tell all the team about it. Nothing, it's not your problem. What is the main danger when using a chisel or bolster with a mushroomed head? The shaft of the chisel will bend, putting a strain on your wrist. It will shatter and send fragments flying into the air. The hammer could slip off the head of the bolster or chisel. You are more likely to hit your hand with the chisel head.
When drilling, cutting, sanding or grinding, what is the best way to protect your long-term health from harmful dust? Use dust extraction or wet cut and wear a dust mask. Use dust extraction or wet cut and wear FFP3 rated respiratory protective equipment, RPE. Wear any disposable respiratory protective equipment, RPE. Wear FFP3 rated respiratory protective equipment, RPE.
Which of the following two statements about moving mobile access towers are correct? The tower can be moved short distances while tools and equipment are on it. The tower should only be moved over soft or uneven ground. The tower should only be moved outside of working hours. The tower must not be moved while people are on it. The tower must not be moved while tools and equipment are on it. What is a potential negative effect of working shift work? Lower wages. Productivity increase. Worker fatigue. Effective teamwork.
The whole work site has been issued with a prohibition notice. What does this mean? Finish the job and go home. Do not use any power tools. Continue with site work. Stop work because the site is unsafe.
Who should erect, dismantle or alter a tube and fit scaffold? Someone who has the right tools. Anyone who thinks they can do it. Anyone who is a project manager. A trained, competent and authorized person. What should a harness's lanyard be attached to when working in a mobile elevating work platform, MEWP? A designated anchor point within the platform or basket. The control box. A point on the structure or building you are working on. The MEWP handrail.
What should you do if you find a ladder that is damaged? Use it if you can avoid the damaged part. Try to mend the damage before using it. Don't use it and report the damage at the end of your shift. Don't use it and make sure that others know about the damage.
Which of the following statements about personal protective equipment, PPE, is not true? You must pay for any damage or loss. You must use it as instructed. You must report any damage or loss to your supervisor. You must store it correctly when you're not using it.
When should an excavation be battered back or stepped? If it is more than 5 meters deep. If there is a risk of the sides falling in regardless of depth. If any buried services cross the excavation. If there is water in the bottom of the trench.
Will all types of glove protect your hands against chemicals? Only if you put barrier cream on your hands first. Yes, all gloves are made to the same standard. No, different gloves protect against different types of hazard. Only if you cover the gloves with barrier cream.
Why do building sites use a 110-volt electricity supply instead of a 230-volt supply? It is less likely to kill you. It is cheaper. It is safer for the environment. It moves faster along the cables. What additional rules might a person working alone be asked to follow? Never speak to the general public. Make regular radio or mobile phone contact. Complete an additional timesheet. Carry 2 sets of personal protective equipment, PPE. Under what circumstance is a worker allowed to operate a plant vehicle? If they have a full international driving license. If they have been working for the company for over 6 months. If competent and authorized to do so. If they are the site manager or supervisor. In addition to putting controls in place when workers are working with hazardous substances, what else must employers do? Monitor the controls. Change the controls weekly. Keep the controls secret. Change the controls every month. Waste materials should be segregated into different types. What are the 2 main reasons for this? To avoid pollution. To support recycling. To fill landfill. To prevent theft. To save money. Site rules and procedures are the responsibility of whom? Work colleagues, investors, the employer, the Health and Safety Executive, HSE. Which of the following are common mental health issues? Hand-arm vibration syndrome, paralysis and halitosis, dermatitis, skin irritation, depression and anxiety. Which of the following is the main cause of skin cancer? Exposure to ultraviolet sun rays, working indoors, skin being irritated by overalls, working in rainy conditions.
What does this sign mean? Wi-Fi enabled area. No mobile phones. Mobile phones are allowed. Mobile phone charging point.
What is the main reason for having a person positioned immediately outside a confined space while work is taking place inside it? To start the rescue plan if there is an emergency. To check compliance with the method statement. To supervise the work inside the confined space. To carry out a risk assessment for the work.
When using a power tool to cut or grind materials, why should the dust be collected and not allowed to get into the air? A machine guard is not needed if the dust is collected. Most dust can be harmful if breathed in. The tool will go faster if the dust is collected, to save time and avoid having to clear up the mess. If the first aid kit on site is empty, what should you do? Bring your own first aid supplies into work. Inform the person who looks after the first aid kit. Ignore the problem as it is always the same. Find out who is taking all the first aid supplies.
If you are working on a flat roof, what is the best way to stop yourself from falling over the edge? Put a large warning sign at the edge of the roof. Protect the edge with a guardrail and a tow board. Ask someone to watch you and shout when you get too close to the edge. Use red and white tape to mark the edge. Mobile access towers should be erected, altered or dismantled by whom? Anyone who thinks they can do it. Anyone who has excess time in their day. Anyone who has worked for the company longer than 2 years. Anyone who is trained, competent and authorized. When a worker is fatigued, what could happen? They are more likely to resign from their job. They are able to work with increased accuracy. They will be more likely to have an accident at work. They will be able to work faster and be more productive.
What potential disease is this worker unprotected from? Nasal cancer, dermatitis, skin cancer, tetanus. If you cut your finger and it won't stop bleeding, what should you do? Tell your colleagues because you may need to rest. Wrap something around it and carry on working. Find a first aider or get medical help. Wash it, then carry on working. What is the correct way to clean up oil that has leaked from machinery onto the ground? Put the oily soil into a separate container for collection as hazardous waste. Put the oily soil into the general waste skip. Mix the soil up with other soil so that the oil cannot be seen. Wash the oil away with water and detergent.
Which of the following is bad practice when organizing site transport? One-way systems for vehicles. Limiting the speed of vehicles on site. Barriers to keep pedestrians away from mobile plant and vehicles. Pedestrians and mobile plant using the same routes.
Why should you wear Wellington boots when working in wet cement? To stop your trousers getting wet. To prevent dermatitis and skin burns. To allow you to walk faster through the cement. To keep your feet warm.
Before you enter a construction site, what actions must be in place? The Health and Safety Officer must have given you permission. You must be authorised and given a site induction. Your site supervisor must have given you permission. You must have a trade skill to be allowed to enter. Which of the following signs means no pedestrian access?
What is the most serious risk to this worker wearing only these items of personal protective equipment, PPE? Goggles misting up, limiting vision. Back injury from poor posture. Not being able to hear colleagues. Breathing in harmful dust.
Saving energy and water by turning off plant, equipment and taps when not in use is whose responsibility? The site manager. Everyone on site. The environmental health provider. The oldest apprentice. Which one of the following tasks would require a worker to wear safety Wellington boots to help protect from skin burns? Laying new concrete. Working indoors on fittings. Landscape gardening in the rain. Lifting floorboards.
What must be done if an operator is driving plant equipment faster than site speed limits? Alert all other staff on site to be careful. Wait until they stop and talk to them about it. Shout at the driver telling them to slow down. Inform a supervisor or manager